I think I still think the Octopus is the cutest one, but I think I might be the most proud of the lion this week. I think also a bit of the reason why I'm feeling a bit like demotivating, not that creative, is that going into this week I had kind of crazy expectations for myself. Hi, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Olina and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, finished projects, planned projects. Sometimes I talk a bit about my yarn, just anything that falls into my head while I sit here and chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before I get into everything I have been knitting on this week, and it has been quite a lot, I wanted to talk a bit about what I'm wearing. And today I'm wearing one of my summer tops. This is the Always Camisole that I made this year. It is by Garnogslikt. This is the top. It is a bit cropped and it has all these I-cord finishes also around here. It's all I-cord, but here it is. I really love this, and I also really love how wearable it is, because since I finished this we haven't really had summer weather, but with layering it really works, and it has a great fit and length and everything for layering. I also really like the neckline, because with a really deep neckline I find that it is a bit harder for me to layer, but with this I can wear anything underneath, because this neckline is high enough that any neckline underneath works. But I knit this in Drops Cotton Merino. It's supposed to be knit on 5.5mm needles, but I couldn't really get that needle size to work with the yarn that I had, so I decided to just use 5mm needles, and I think that gave me a much better fabric than I would have with 5mm needles. If I press on it, it still gapes quite a lot, but if it just lays like this, it really does not gape, and the stitches are quite even though it is a 50-50 cotton and merino blend. That can be a bit more uneven for me, and that was why I was struggling with the 5.5mm needle, but with the 5mm needle it worked out. It probably means that I'm not meeting gauge 100%, so this is probably not 100% representative on the fit if you do it with the right yarn and the right needle size, but I really like the way mine fits, and I've gotten a ton of use out of this. And I have been struggling with summer tops before that I usually end up not getting as much use out of them as I want to, because I'm always a bit too influenced probably by Instagram and everyone on Instagram having knitting summer tops, and I so badly want to be a part of that, but we don't really have a lot of summer weather here, or great summer weather here when we do, so the summer tops that are really summery I don't get a lot of use out of. But with this I chose to do it in 50% wool, and it is great for layering, so it has turned out to be one of the summer tops I've used the most, even though I think this is the newest one I have. So I've definitely learned more this year about summer knits and what works for me, and it's still very tempting to make all of the cute summer tops I see on Instagram, because they are so cute, and I also want to have nice summer weather and be able to wear all the cute summer tops, but I don't think it's in the cards for me. I'm still probably going to make some cute summer tops, because we do have a bit of summer weather, and I also have family further south in Norway that I can visit and wear them there. But I think it was kind of a wake-up call that I need to not be so influenced or easily influenced by pretty pictures on Instagram, because it isn't always translatable in real life into what I would wear and what fits me, suits me, and works with the weather I have. But this is a summer top I am really happy with. I also really love the color this has. It suits a lot of the rest of my wardrobe, because I love blues and grays, so they kind of melt together. But I think that's all I'm going to say about this top, but I do really love it, and I highly recommend it if you are looking for some sort of summer top. It is a bit open here, probably less so on mine because I did a needle size down and didn't mid gauge, but it works well, at least when you layer it. I've mostly been layering it, but I think it also should work well without a layer underneath, but it's probably something to think about if you don't like it being super open around here. But with that being said, let's move into what I've actually been knitting on this week. And I think this week that I'm going to start by talking about everything I finished, because I did spend most of this week knitting on the pieces that have ended up being done. And I must say that definitely the largest part of my week was spent knitting up these. These are some stuffed animals plushies. I don't really know what word to use for them, so I use them a bit interchangeably. I think they can be used interchangeably, but I made these stuffed animals. I have Ibo the polar bear, and then Otto the octopus, and then Lussi the lion, I think they're all called. All of them are by Arctickids. They are lovely patterns. I enjoyed them a lot. The only one I've done kind of halfway before is Ibo the polar bear. I did 2 of these for my twin cousins for their christening, but I didn't have the time to do the arms and the legs, so those were new to me. But other than that, I had done it before, and I knit this using Knit Me Merino, I think, in white or off-white it is, and then I used Drops Flora for the embroidery, and this is the face that I'm the least happy with. It doesn't look great. It is a bit like uneven and just not great. But that's the first plushie I made, just because I wanted to start out kind of safe, and also the body shape on this is really easy to make and I've done it before, so I thought that would be a great way to start off, to kind of gauge how long this would take me and to get more familiar with magic loop, because I try to do magic loop as little as possible because I do not like it. So I had to kind of equate myself back with the magic loop and the pattern and just how you knit teddies. This was a great place to start. I'm really happy I did start here, because it did give me quite it did get me back into magic loop, and I also quickly realized how long making stuffed animals was going to take me. I started making these because my son's birthday was this week, and like every year we're so busy with kind of the birthday and everything else that we kind of forget about the birthday gift and things like making him a crown for his birthday. So all of the creative things kind of slipped through the cracks until right before. So I started making his gift, I think, on Sunday, and his birthday was Tuesday. And going into it, I thought stuffed animals, they're so small. They're knit on like with DK weight yarn, and it's just a body and then some small things. And I also remembered that for the twins' christening, I made 2 of these in like half a day. I started late in the day and finished both by evening, but keep in mind I did not have the time to do arms and legs for those. So I thought I would be able to get a lot more done. I think I found yarn to do 5 stuffed animals, I think. But just the day I was going to start them, I think it took me, I found the yarn and got started on that at 11 a.m. and I didn't get to cast on until like 4:30, so everything just takes a lot more time than I think all of the time, and it's not just this once. And you would think that I would learn then that both the knitting part and also the preparation and actually getting things done and everything you also have to keep doing while you're knitting makes everything take longer, but I never learn, so I always overestimate. But this is the first that I finished, and I finished this very late Sunday, so this was the one I got to finish that first day, and I am quite happy with it. It is the stuffed animal I made that looks the least like an animal, but my son loves it. It's just different animals each time he plays. It's been a rabbit, it's been a cat, it's been a polar bear. This is just for him to play with his creativity, but that's the first one I made. And then immediately the next day I started making this one, Otto the Octopus, and I very wrongly assumed that this would be a quicker knit than this, because of the round head, and I thought that this would be like the main thing, the head. The head was done before breakfast, so I thought, oh my god, this is going to be such a quick knit. And then I started on the legs, which I decided to do with stripes because I think that looks the cutest, and they're kind of like one starts with the darkest one and then the next starts with the lightest and then the darkest again, which I really like the effect of. But these took me so long. Each of these are just 14 stitches, but I think they averaged taking me like 30 to 45 minutes, which I did realize after a while, but it took me a really long time to realize how long they took me, and I definitely did not have that in the cards, that this would take so long and that so few stitches could take so long. If I did those on the stitches, it would go by so much quicker, but with the tiny things and magic loop, and the more of these legs I made, the more the loop on the magic loop would snag on these, and it just took longer and longer the more I made. But I think it is the cutest one that I made, and it can also stand on its own, which is a huge plus. If you ask my son, he likes to make this one stand. And it can also sit like this, which is also really cute. It's also blue, which is my favorite color, and I am quite happy with the eyes on this. When I did the embroidery on this, my mother was in the room and she said to me, oh, I thought the stuffed animals were going to be happy, and she did not think that this embroidery made this octopus look very happy, but it's still cute and my son still loves it. But that's the second one I made. And then the third one, after the octopus, I was really unsure if I was going to be able to make a third one at all, but my son turned 3, so even though I knew I wasn't going to be able to make the original 5, I really wanted to be able to make 3, because I felt that was kind of symbolic. And I decided to go for the lion. I thought that maybe going for the whale I had also planned would be a quicker knit, but the lion just spoke to me. When I cast on the octopus, it was between the octopus and the lion, because I thought that these were the cutest ones and the most like characteristic ones. So I just could not pass up doing the lion, so I started doing the lion really late on Monday, and I think I finished the whole head then, which I am quite happy with the head. I think after I did the ears that the embroidery ended up being a bit too high up on the face, but it's not a huge issue. It's just I wish it were a couple of stitches further down, because then this would be like perfect in my opinion, but I think I'll get over it. And also I didn't mention the yarn. This is knit in Merino Extra Fine for the base color, and then I think the darker one is Lana Gatto Super Soft. In these blue colors, I don't know the color names. I really enjoy also how you make the mane on this one. There were 2 different options, but I think the mane where you do it with ribbing looks so cool. I love the effect on that, and it does really look like a lion. It's not super like lions don't stand on 2 feet in real life, but it's very easily recognizable as a lion, which I really enjoy. This is not made with Sandnes garn, merino ull, and then drops baby merino held double for the mane. And this was actually surprisingly a quick make. I thought this was going to be something that would take me as long as making the octopus, because it does have a lot of things going on with the ears and the mane and the arms and legs and the tail. But I think after all of this that the line actually was the quickest one to make, and there might be a lot of different reasons for that. It might be me getting better with magic loop, it might be me getting more stressed on having everything done, but I also think a big part of it was that this body is made using raglan for the sleeve, so no pickup for the whole body, and when you're done knitting the body here, you just knit the legs like you would on any kind of suit, so you didn't have to do any pickup on the line except for the mane, which was also quite quick, and then you had to do a little pickup for the tail, but that was also I-cord, so you didn't have to do magic loop, which I loved. And then I even got to put in some little like ruffles here, which I'm really happy about. I can't really decide which I'm the most pleased with. I think I still think the Octopus is the cutest one, but I think I might be the most proud of the lion. I'm also really happy with my color choices for all of these, and that I found yarn in my stash for all of these, and a lot of the yarn that I found were scrap yarn or like single skeins. That's really hard to work with because I only have one of them and it's not enough for a hat, it's not enough for anything really. For example, the yarn, the main color for the lion was a single skein, and this orange scrap, which was actually a tiny little scrap my mother had left with the baby merino. So these three is what I did spend most of my time knitting on. These were the only thing I touched from Sunday to Tuesday, and I didn't finish these until well into Tuesday. I think I did the last stitch on the lion at maybe 1 p.m. and then I had to weave in ends. I did weave in all of the ends on the lion myself, and then my grandma came and saved me with these. So I did finish them all and give them away to my son on his birthday, and he already loves them so much. It is the last thing he plays with before he goes to bed, and it is the first thing he wants to play with again when he wakes up. So the bit of stress that I had making these were definitely worth it, knowing now how much he loves these and how much he plays with them. But I wouldn't recommend stressing knitting stuffed animals or stressing making anything really. It is really tiring, and after I had finished this and given it away, I have been feeling a bit like empty when it comes to being creative and like always wanting to pick up my knitting. I also kind of just want to sit in the sofa a bit like catatonic and do nothing. I did cast on something very late on Tuesday to kind of try to get out of it. I didn't want to jump directly into my previous projects like the Marseille for my son or my Olga or the wedding dress, because I was feeling a bit empty of creative juices and I didn't want to drag that into those projects. So I cast on a Sophie scarf from some other scrap yarn I had. This is the scrap yarn or the leftovers from the cardigan that I made, and I've been wanting to make a matching Sophie scarf for that for so long, and I thought this would be the perfect time. This is the smallest size because I didn't have a lot of mohair left, even though I still have a lot of the merino left, but I think this will be a perfect little scarf. I'm really bad at tying the Sophie scarves. I think the smallest one probably will have to be worn like this, but I think this will be great with the cardigan, and when I'm not using it, my son also loves the Sophie scarves. They're the perfect sized scarf for him because they are so tiny, so they kind of wrap around his neck, but they're not like, they don't build around a lot around his neck, so he steals a lot of these from me. So I keep making them because they're kind of shared knits between the two of us, and since he's a small child, we don't have a lot of knits we can share, but I love that we can share these. I think I used 20 grams of 19 grams of the baby merino in parrot green or strong green, I think it's called. And then I used 12 or 13 grams of the kid silk in parrot green. And it is lovely, and it was great to just have a garter stitch small project that progressed quickly, and that I was just making for fun on a whim. I didn't have kind of any thoughts or anything behind it. It didn't have to be finished by a certain point. That was great as a total shift compared to knitting off the stuffed animals. And I did finish it, but still after having made this, I'm still not 100% back with my creative energy. I still feel a bit drained from my creative energy. I think when I knit things as fast as possible, it does take a lot of my creative energy, because then I focus so much on knitting and doing it as fast as possible, and usually knitting also replenishes some of that creative energy because it is an outlet for creativity, and when I do it slowly and with a lot of thought put into it, it is kind of replenishing. But when I just do it as fast as possible and very like end of project focused, it does not really feel like that. It feels a bit forced, and this is not to take away from these, because I'm so happy I made them. It was fun to make them, but I am noticing that when I do things like these, or when I was knitting my twin cousin's christening outfit and I had to really cram at the end, it is quite draining once it's finished, because it's been so massive. I've thought so much about it. I've done so much. So when I'm done with it, I'm kind of empty feeling, and all of my creativity kind of leaves when the project is finished. And I'm trying not to stress about it, because I don't think that would be easier or help. I'm trying to do projects like this and not stress about it. I still want to knit more on the Marseille and on the Olga, but I also want to knit on those with more positive feelings and more creative feelings, so I'm kind of holding off a bit. And it's also not been super long since Tuesday. I started this on Tuesday, I finished it on Wednesday, I think, so it's not been super long. Today's Friday, so I'm not stressing, and I'm also trying to like keep space for myself to not knit all the time. Even though I love knitting, I'm also allowed to do other things than knitting with my free time. It's just a bit hard for me to keep that balance in my life, so I'm also trying to work on that. But I also get trapped a bit in the mindset of, since I do YouTube, I should always be knitting with my free time to progress on what I'm making, so I actually have something to show and something to talk about. But yeah, I'm just I don't know how to phrase it. I still love knitting and I want to do it, and I love everything I was able to make this week, and I'm so happy I decided to do what I did and make the stuffed animals. Those are definitely worth feeling a bit less creative now, but I also do struggle quite frequently, I'd say, with feeling less creative, and usually I just knit my way through it. But I'm trying to work on holding more space for feeling like that, and maybe listening to myself when I'm not feeling the most creative, to not do the most amount of creative things then. But that's it for the things I finished this week. I finished 4 project this week, and they're all cute, and they're all they're not super stash busting because they're small, so they took up a lot of time and not that much yarn. But what they did stash bust was my stash of scrap yarn, leftover yarn, which I'm so pleased to have gotten like a dent into. And after doing this, I definitely want to do more of that. Earlier with my knitting, I had whole months like dedicated to my scrap yarn, and after doing this, I think I want to get back into doing that. I don't know which month I'd like to do it in. I'm feeling kind of like maybe October would be a good month to do more scraps, because I need a bit of time to look through my stash and plan out projects. But I'm definitely wanting to do more of not just stash busting the like big ticket items, but also stash busting all of my scrap yarn or single skeins. But that is it for what I finished this week. But even though most of my time spent this week was spent finishing things, and after I'd finished those things I haven't really felt creative, I have knit a bit on a few of my active projects as well. First up, the wedding dress. This, unfortunately, I've not done anything on, but even though I haven't done anything on it, not a single stitch, I think this might be the week since I started the challenge to knit 1 skein per 2 skeins that I'm the closest to that, because I haven't really been finishing a lot of skeins because the stuffed animals and the Sophie shawl have been so small. I think I finished like 1 or 2 skeins, which means I should have knit 1 skein on the wedding dress, which I haven't, but I'm not stressing about it. I still have quite a while to go, and since I made such amazing progress the last couple of weeks I have been doing this challenge, I'm not super stressed about it. I definitely shouldn't have lots of weeks like this where I don't knit anything on it, but having a couple of weeks like that every so often is absolutely fine. So nothing on that one. And then I have the Marseille sweater going into this week. I think also a bit of the reason why I'm feeling a bit like demotivating, not that creative, is that going into this week I had kind of crazy expectations for myself. I tend to do that a lot before like big happenings like birthdays, christenings, just all things where I'm supposed to do things. I have really crazy high expectations, and I don't really realize how long certain things takes. So this week I wanted to make 5 stuffed animals. I wanted to finish the Marseille sweater. I was going to weave in all of the ends and do buttons on all of the projects I've made my son, and there just isn't time for all of that extra stuff on top of everything else in life. So I didn't get to do even half of the things I had kind of set myself as a goal to do, which I also think really affects how like pleased I am with what I got done, because even though I accomplished a lot and it turned out perfectly, the goalpost is always moving and I never quite get there. So I never get that like sense of like reaching my goals 100%. But I did want to finish the Marseille sweater this week, and I quite early this week realized that that was not really going to be something I focused on, because I was going to focus on the stuffed animals because those were the most important to me, because I knew those would matter most to my son. So this was on the back burner, and then I just needed something to kind of wipe the slate. So I did the Sophie scarf, and then I picked this back up. I think last week I had finished the body, so this week it was all about the sleeves. And I think I started this sleeve maybe late Wednesday, and it was quite quick to knit up because it is not a super long sleeve and not super many stitches, and it's all done on 4mm needle, so you don't have to change out your needles, nothing. And it also has stripes, which helps with motivation and to keep track of things. So this was done quite quickly, and I finished it like early afternoon yesterday, and then I started knitting this sleeve, and I didn't have a lot of motivation to spend the whole evening knitting, so I didn't. And then I didn't have a lot of motivation this morning either to spend the whole morning knitting, or all of my free time in the morning knitting, so I didn't. But I did spend, as the morning and midday went on, I picked this back up, and when you first start knitting it's quite addictive because of the stripes. So I have finished all of the sleeve except the ribbing, so I think after this podcast I'm going to go finish it. Podcasting usually always gives me a little bit of extra motivation to work on my existing WIPs, especially when they have this little done. So I think this will be done today, and it does look really cute. Can't wait to wash it and for the ribbing to kind of stretch out a little bit so it gets the straight fit it's supposed to have. I think this is going to be really comfortable to wear, and it's really white, which I'm a bit worried about, but I think it will work out fine, and maybe he'll wear this a lot when he's wearing like coats outside or something, but it does look really comfortable. It feels really comfortable, so I think this will be a great sweater to have in his wardrobe, and it's also been quite a good stash buster. I think when this is done I'll have cleared like 350 grams out of my stash, which is also good, and it just looks really cute, and I'm super excited to finally have this match 2.5 years after I first started wanting one. But yeah, this just has a very, very little bit left, so I am quite happy with everything I got done this week. It's just my expectations give me like a false sense of not getting anything done, because I've imagined getting so much more done. So when this is like all I get done, it feels like not enough. So I think what I mainly need to work on is to realize how much time everything takes, and probably being better at preparing in advance. I plan very poorly in advance, but that is the Marseille sweater. If I didn't say, I'm knitting in merino extra fine. I'm knitting in the off-white color and color 23. It's the blue color. I still don't know what it's called. But yeah, that's the Marseille. Hopefully next week this will be a done project. And then the last active project that I have is the Olga, and I have barely done anything on this week. I don't know where I was last week, so I don't exactly know how much I've done, but I don't think I've done much because I can't really remember working on it. Not for lack of trying. I did bring it with me when we went to the cabin. Me and my son was at my parents' cabin from Sunday to Monday, and I think I packed with me like 8 projects for a 24-hour stay, and this was one of them. But unfortunately I didn't have any time to work on it then, and just in general this week I've brought this with me everywhere I went, but I haven't really gotten anything done. I think I might have knit maybe one stripe, but a testament to how little I've knit on this is that I've even put on these like stitch stoppers, which I got this because I think they're really cute, but I've barely gotten to use them, because if I work on a project like at least once a day, I don't use these because I think they're in my way when I just want to pick something up quickly. These are only on a project of mine if I like bring it with me lots of different places, but I don't really anticipate getting anything done on them, so I would rather be safe than sorry. So if these come out to play, that means my projects are not really getting a lot of attention, which is sad because I'm really excited to wear this, but this week it was just right for this to wait because I had so much else other things going on. But now that I don't have a birthday to prepare for and the Marseille sweater is almost done, I think it's time for this to come out to play again. And I think after this week where it's been a bit overwhelming with all of the projects and everything I've been doing, it will be nice to after I finish the Marseille to just focus on the Olga sweater and not cast on anything else maybe until this is done, or until this is closer to done, or until I get a bit of that creativity back, because I don't want to cast something on when I'm not feeling super creative, because I'm afraid I'll make mistakes in what I choose to cast on then, and cast something on I don't really want to knit on, and cast something on just for the sake of it. But this is the Olga. She is super pretty. I can't wait to wear her. These colors, they bring me so much joy, and the white and the red together look so good, and both of them kind of pop out when they're next to each other, so I'm really excited about this one. So it's going to be great to work on it again. I don't know what I want to do next, if I want to finish the body or if I want to start on the sleeves. I am hosting a knit along for the Olga sweater over on Instagram, and a couple people in that knit along group has done like about this much on the body and then started on the sleeves, and that seems really smart, because then you get the sleeves out of the way, and when the body is finished, the sweater is finished. So part of me really wants to do that, but then if I'm bringing the project everywhere with me, it is a lot easier to not have multiple needles in it at the same time, so then it would be easier to just finish the body and not have any yarn dangling from that and then do the sleeves afterwards. So I can't really make up my mind, but this week I definitely want to spend a lot of time focusing on this, and then also do a bit on the wedding dress. I don't know this week if I would rather focus on making a swatch and like figure out embroidery, pearls, kind of what direction I want to go in when it comes to that, or if I want to focus on actually knitting on the dress. I am a bit undecided. Also this week I was supposed to work on the main wedding dress, which I didn't do, so I don't know if I now go back to the mohair dress or if I kind of repeat this week where I was supposed to work on the main wedding dress. A bit undecided, but I think I'm going to focus on this one over the wedding dress as well, just to kind of get to a place where my like WIPs are kind of wiped clean that slate, and kind of start over again with new projects and try to stress a bit less. This whole summer I've tried to get to a point where I stress less about what I knit and knit less on deadlines, but I very easily slip back into knitting with the deadline and kind of putting a lot of value in how fast I can knit things, and not necessarily in how fast I can knit things either, but in accomplishing the goals I set myself each week. And I need to work on what kind of goals I set myself each week, because I end up always stressing to try to reach them. So I think my goal this week is to just knit a little bit here and there on the project I want to knit on. I think the best would be for me to finish the things I've got going on, but if I really end up wanting to cast on something else that I think is going to be the perfect project to work on, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to go into this next week with as few rules as possible. But those are my active WIPs and things I've given the least attention to this week. And then I did decide last week to add in a segment where I weave in ends, and that's good because I this week was going to weave in all of the ends on the project for my son and then do buttons and everything, and I ended up not weaving in a single end, but I do have to say though that this week I wove in, or got help to weave in, all of the ends on the projects that I did finish, the stuffed animals, but I also immediately wove in the ends on the Sophie scarf, so at least I didn't add anything to the pile of knits I need to weave in ends for this week, so I'm happy with that. But I didn't get anywhere with this, so I thought that today I'm going to try to get through at least a few of these so I can get going on some of them like this. I'm almost done with this. Only needs one button actually. It does have, I think it has 5 out of the 6 buttons it needs, and all of them are woven in. That's quite easy, but I'm not going to weave in buttons on camera because that takes a lot of effort. This also just needs buttons, but these need star ends woven in, so I'm going to go try to get my needle and then hopefully get through at least one of these. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. This is the, I think it is the Ellen's cardigan, maybe, with the pockets. This is the one I'm looking the least forward to weaving in the ends on, so that's where I'm starting. This is also what I think will get use out of, like, the closest in time to now, because this is a cardigan I made to be kind of a summer cardigan. I made it in drops cotton merino, and ever since I made it we've had quite bad weather, but we are going somewhere with better weather next week, so I want this done by then so we can bring it. But I think this might be the one thing for my son now that has the most ends to weave in, so it will be nice to just get this out of the way now so that it will be easier to start on all of the other ones. I think I made this in size 4 to 5, so it would last him multiple seasons, which I am really pleased about now, because this summer season hasn't been great, so we haven't gotten a lot of use out of it. Also because the ends aren't woven, but we haven't been able to use it either, and also because I just cleared away all of his clothes from the last size. Yeah, he had his birthday now, so all of the 2 to 3 year clothes I have cleared away, which is always quite sad for me. All of those knitted pieces carry so many memories, both of me wearing them and of him wearing them. Some are okay to clear away because I know there are pieces like the anchor sweater, for example. It's a piece we've had in every single size. It's nothing special, and it's usually not in a super special size, but usually the clothes we've been using the most and loving the most, or if it's something in a color I really love and that color has been discontinued, or if it's like my son's favorite or something, it's always a bit sad to clear away. And what I really appreciate when clearing those away are all of the sweaters and cardigans we have that's I've made ahead of time, so they stretch across multiple sizes, because then I don't have to clear away everything all at once, which I really appreciate, and that's why I try to do a bit of that now. So I have made quite a lot in the 3 to 4 year size, and I'm trying to make more now, so he'll have like really great fitting clothes to wear. But I'm also trying to make a bit ahead like this one, both so I won't have to make new things every year, and also so I won't have to clean away everything, because it is really sad both to clear them away and knowing my son will never fit them, never use them again, and also how empty his knitted wardrobe looks after I've cleared everything away. That should be a bit of an extra motivation for me though, to finally weave in all of these ends and get everything washed and into his wardrobe, because it does look really empty now, and I also realized when I cleared everything away that he does not have any knit pants anymore, so I need to get on that. He also doesn't have a lot of hats anymore, so I need to get on that. And scarves is doing okay with. He needs more socks and mittens, but I think I'm going to be able to make the winter items in time for winter, but it's nice to kind of start thinking about it now and being aware of what he really needs. But I cleared the clothes away. I think I did that on Sunday, and I'm still a little sad about it because it is a lot of memories, and it is like the whole last year in knits that now have been cleared away and won't be used anymore, and that is always a little bit sad. And one thing was a baby. That was also a bit sad every time I cleared away things, but he didn't wear things for that long then, so I didn't really form such an emotional connection to his wardrobe. But now that his wardrobe lost him at least a year, a lot of the pieces lost him longer, I have way more of a connection to the clothes, and he has way more of a connection to the clothes. So I don't know if it maybe is a bit silly, but I really care about his clothes, and I did make most of them. My mom or my grandma's made some of them, but I know how much time and love and effort has gone into every piece and how much we've loved wearing them. So it always feels like a bit of an era, and just reminding me how kind of time is slipping through our fingers all of the time, and just makes me a bit more extra sentimental around his birthday. But I also love adding new stuff into his wardrobe, and I do of course appreciate that he is growing. It is just sentimental, but now I'm really excited to add these clothes into his wardrobe again, have some clothes in his current size, but I think going forward I'm going to try to focus more and more on having clothes that stretch across multiple years, both because everything is starting to take a lot longer to make because the sizes are getting bigger, and just to be able to wear them for longer and have them and really be able to cherish each piece. This is taking a bit of a long time to weave in. I'm just going to cut this because weaving in ends with really long strands I don't really like. This I also have to do buttons for afterwards, but I do kind of want to weave in the ends on everything that needs buttons, so that when I sit down to do buttons I can do all of them at once, because that's easier than motivating myself to do buttons multiple times. And then I'm going to wash them all and add them to his wardrobe. I'm also noticing how much of a preference I have for knitting sweaters, because most of the wardrobe that I cleared away was sweaters, and almost all of his wardrobe that was left was sweaters. Luckily, in this pile of new things that I've made him, I think there's mostly cardigans, or maybe it's about a 50-50 split between cardigans and sweaters. But I do definitely have a preference for sweaters, but both me and my fiancé and my son, when it comes to what kind of like woolly thing my son actually wears, we also have a preference for sweaters then. So sweaters are what gets knit most and what gets worn most, so it all works out because of that. And I still have quite a bit more that I want to knit him in his basket, but I think a lot of the things I have left are either like things for specific things, like the Christmas cardigan I'm going to make him, or sweaters in much larger sizes. I know I have at least one sweater in the size 3 to 4 that I'm planning for him that I need to get to quite soon, and then I have knit pants that I also need to get to quite soon. But I don't have anything planned for hats or mittens, so I need to go through my stash and try to find some yarn for that, because I need to get to it soon. And as I've been saying, I am trying to get to things sooner rather than later, because if I put things off, it always ends up being a stress knit, and I'm trying to be better at avoiding that. Even though I do quite like the knitting on the deadline part, I don't love the part afterwards, so I'm trying to be better at doing less of that. With how long this is taking to weave in the ends on, I don't think I'm going to weave in ends on multiple things today, but we are getting somewhere. I think I have 3 ends left to weave in now. I quite like this segment because it's actually making me weave in ends. The only ends I ended up weaving in last week were on the podcast, so and the ones I did on the things I finished that week. So hopefully if I keep to doing this segment on the podcast and try to weave in the ends on the project I finish each week, I will one day be finished weaving in the ends on everything, but it might take me a while because you can't really see a dent in the basket of unfinished knits yet. So I don't know, maybe I'll be done. I hope I'll be done by like when fall really starts. But yeah, I don't know. My main thing is that I want to get in a good routine with weaving in ends on new projects, and then this is my way of getting through the backlog, because I think if I try to do the backlog in the week just regularly as well, that kind of keeps me from doing it at all. But if my goal only is to not add new projects to my like basket of shame, with where all my projects go to not be to just wait for their ends to be weaved in, if I try to just not add any new projects to it, that's a lot easier than trying to weave my way through it all. I think this is the last end I have left, and then it's done except the buttons. But yeah, if I only try to do the things I finish each week and buttons throughout the week, and then I do everything that's old during the podcast, I think that's a good way of doing it. I'm really not looking forward to the Marseille. I remember when I weaved in the ends for my own Marseille sweater, and I think it took me an hour to just do that sweater. Hopefully it being the kids version means that there are a lot fewer ends, but I still know there are quite a lot. Luckily I have woven in the ends where I've done Italian bind off, so that should help a bit, but not a lot. But here it is, one that's done, and now I just need to do buttons on this and weave in the ends on. But the things that are left now are like winter accessories, so I'm not super stressed about having those done right away. But I think that is all I have this week with finished projects, current projects, and weaving in ends. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, that means the world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!